Hello, guys. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Film Angle. My name is Kris.
And I'm Alex.
And I'm really excited because we're going to talk about really, really big movie this week. One that I've been really excited for a long time. And no, it's not Barbie and it's not Oppenheimer. That's going to have to wait till next week.
Yeah. We're on the verge of the release date on this recording. We're both very hyped. We've booked our tickets for Barbenheimer.
Yeah. You're seeing Oppenheimer first and Barbie second, and I'm doing the opposite. But that's not out of choice.
I think that'll be interesting to discuss. That whether it has any effect on this double bill.
Yeah, I guess I think Barbie's probably. I actually do think it might be the better way because maybe it's something light to start off with. I don't maybe want to be. I'm expecting Nolan's Oppenheimer to be very obviously quite all-encompassing and quite heavy and something that you think about for days after. So it might be really nice to have Oppenheimer just to sit on and not have that juxtaposed with another really contrasting movie afterwards. But I think I can compartmentalize anyway. I think there's no wrong answer. I think as long as you're supporting both of those movies, which a lot of people seem to be excited for, then you're good in my books, to be honest. I don't think you should be choosing one over the other. These are both going to be really, really exciting films to catch up with.
They are propping each other up. It's like this really nice kind of solidarity of marketing where we're kind of propping up these two films, and I think they're both going to be pretty big. And it's really nice in a way to see that. I'm not sure. Obviously, the studios might feel the same way. But I just think it's nice, and the fact that we've, us as a collective society have turned this into this like completely strange double bill that everybody has to go to. I think
it is like a once in a lifetime event. I don't remember anything like this before.
Yeah, I think it will encourage more people to see both films, but I think more importantly, maybe it might encourage more men to see Barbie. Not that we were ever not going to or anything like that, but I think there's less, less of that kind of toxic masculinity shame in going to see Barbie when it's like part of this weird juxtaposed double bill.
It does exist though still. I mean, if you go into the recesses of YouTube, there are ranting men on YouTube sort of like waving the flag of that this is like feminist propaganda and
I have no doubt.
I mean, it's completely it makes it so funny to me whenever you tell people who maybe aren't in the know and say to them, "Oh, I'm really, really excited for the Barbie movie," and then just see the reaction on their face as it curdles, and you're like, everybody just taking it at face value. I mean, we've all seen the trailer. We know that this is going to be more like a Truman Show-esque sort of thing, where a fish out of water. It's going to probably, knowing Greta Gerwig being behind the camera, it's going to be a lot more than just a Barbie Mattel sort of collaboration. It's going to probably hit on some issues and also just be really, really fun and self-deprecating and all that sort of stuff. And Ryan Gosling is just going to be, Ryan Gosling. So I'm really, really, that's what I'm excited for more than anything this weekend. So yeah,
absolutely. I predict. I think that Barbie will cross the $1 billion mark. I've got this feeling.
There's a chance, and
it might be one of the only films to do so. I don't think any others have this year. Have they yet?
No, I don't think. I don't think so.
This summer's been.
What's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse like? I mean, that's got to be. Probably.
I don't think it was hitting $1 billion, but it was doing well.
Yeah,
but I just feel like there's something about Barbie is that we don't see. We do see some expensive female-led films, but they tend to be more in the superhero world of like, look, the girl's doing it just as well as the guy kind of thing. Yeah. But Barbie is so unashamedly feminine that I think there's something joyous about that you just don't see a lot of money being spent on a blockbuster of this kind, and I think that'll bring people out. I'm getting my pink t-shirt ready. I'm ready for Barbie.
Yeah, you're a good company. I think that the real comparison is maybe comparing it to the Super Mario Brothers movie. I mean, I think that's the movie that probably that must have crossed $1 billion, right? That's got to be one of the biggest hits in year.
Oh yes, that did. Oh, I completely forgot that came out this year.
Yeah, which I caught up with actually the other day. Meh at most. Like, I mean, it's really played by but you contrast it with Barbie, and it's just really cool to see that a sort of collaboration. We're seeing a lot of third party organizations like Nintendo, like Mattel here, kind of collaborating with movie studios. And it's so weird that we live in this era now where we see these sort of banners before a movie now. Like it's, produced by Mattel, and it's
Mm.
be interesting to see like how much of a risk they're taking on their own brand. But maybe it's not. I mean, it seems like the best marketing tool in history that they're making fun of themselves. And
Yeah.
so excited. I feel like we haven't barely mentioned Oppenheimer. I am equally so excited for that movie too, especially with the rapturous sort of reception it's been receiving. I'm a big, I'm a Christopher Nolan fan. I think everybody on this waking earth is a fan of at least a couple of his movies.
Or at
So,
least can respect
or at
the
least can
fact.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
yeah,
respect the
yeah.
craft, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's going to be a really exciting weekend. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which we will, by the time you guys are listening to this, we'll have already seen this.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows? We might not be able to contain our excitement if they're
We've
good
got our pink
on
shirts
social
ready to
media.
go.
So keep an eye on all our socials and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm very excited, very excited. And they obviously, they got their marketing in before the strikes, which we touched on last week, and very much support. I don't know if we mentioned that. I think we just discussed it last week, but we very much discuss everybody getting paid what they're worth. Strikes are cool.
Yeah, well, Alex is definitely you're just attracted to strikes in general. You are the movie Athena as a human embodiment.
Fair pay for everyone, man. Fair pay.
No, I have total agreement. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We're still kind of following where that is at the minute. It's sort of still ongoing, of course. So we'll kind of keep following that and keep you guys updated on what's going on there. If you don't already know, I'm sure you already know anyway. You don't need us
Yeah,
telling you.
yeah.
um,
But shall we get
yeah, I
into?
was going to talk about Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part
Yeah.
One. Is the movie that we're talking about today? A huge movie. I mean, we like Indiana Jones that we talked about the other week. You and I both have a massive respect for Tom Cruise in this franchise, and this is a particularly interesting franchise because it sort of was one thing in the early 2000s, and then kind of re-transformed itself when number 4 Ghost Protocol came out, and sort of it's kind of been a consistent wave of pretty great movies since then. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, consistently good. They've kind of got their thing down now, which is like big stunts,
Tom running.
usually done for real, and that kind of excitement on the big screen looks great. Yeah, I mean, I come from a very different perspective on the Mission Impossible films, just because I didn't. I knew of them, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago now that I actually watched
I
all of them.
completely forget that. I just feel like
Yeah,
I've always
it
feel like
was
when I talk to you about Mission Impossible, it seems like you've always known them or seen them.
Well, yeah, it was actually because of the trailer for Mission Impossible Fallout. And I think I was working in the cinema at the time when it came out, but like previous to it coming out, I just saw this trailer on the big screen all the time, and like the trailer for Mission Impossible Fallout is brilliant, and I was like, man, I want
Yeah.
to see this film, but I've got 5 films to watch before it, and I just decided, screw it, I'm just gonna watch these films. And yeah, no, I very much enjoy them. It is a pretty much consistently good series with a couple of like really standout excellent films, but always consistently entertaining. And yeah, no, I do think Fallout is probably one of the best action films of this century. I think it is. I think it's brilliantly done.
So, are we saying already off the bat here that Dead Reckoning Part One is not quite up to the league that Fallout is in, or
Um,
is it just as good? Are we on that constant formula of we're upping ourselves every time here?
it is for me thoroughly entertaining, thoroughly entertaining. But no, it does not reach the heights of Fallout for myself.
I would agree. I think Fallout is the perfect Mission Impossible movie because just its sheer the filmmaking prowess, how it kind of really changed the tone of Mission Impossible, and kind of I think it was the perfect sort of embodiment of where Ethan Hunt really is in this journey of him as a character. This sort of this high stakes of the one life for the many lives. I think Henry Cavill is such an awesome presence in that movie. Actually, a really underrated villain in general. And the
Hmm.
set pieces are just incredible. There's no real ounce of fat, and it strings the plot along really, really well and connects the dots without really making you. Some of the previous, I think Rogue Nation was a little bit of a victim of getting a little bit too bogged down in getting you from exposition heavy and getting you into the next set piece. So I think Fallout's the perfect version of that. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One, I loved. I did really like. I think it's my second favorite of the franchise
Oh
so
wow.
far, and I think it just fulfills the promise that Fallout really gave, and just consistently giving you those nail biting action set pieces, and really just carrying on with the characters. And adding a lot more characters here. Actually, we get a lot of interesting new additions. I think Haley Atwell playing the new character Grace is a really, really fun addition. I think I loved her in the Captain America series, and she really holds her own against Tom Cruise in this. And I think for me, the standout performance of this, even though it's a kind of minor one, and well, not minor, it's a very silent role, I think, is Paul
Ah yes.
Clementif. I think playing the character of Paris, who is this uh, like female heavy henchman character, but she is so honestly like she's having a maniacal time of her life. There's this chase sequence going through Rome where she is in this heavy SUV vehicle chasing after Ethan Hunt and Haley Atwell. Um, and it is so cool just to see how she reacts in those moments. Like she just belongs in a Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
Unsurprisingly, though, she loves Tarantino. It seems.
and also like she does a lot with quite a little.
Yes.
And that's not against the script itself. Like she is a kind of silent henchman. She almost has makeup like a mime at one point, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like considering this was Mantis in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, like here she is, just completely different. You wouldn't even recognize her as the same actress, and that's obviously a credit to her acting abilities. But
Yeah.
yeah, she's completely menacing, which is great.
Yeah. But the plot, I guess, is kind of your standard Mission Impossible stuff, but with a little bit of twist. I think when you go into a Mission Impossible movie, you're not like the first thing you're thinking about is, I wonder what the plot's going to be. I wonder what the espionage factor of this is going to be. It's more about the set pieces and how you get to them, and if they are sort of satisfyingly kind of connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Though with this one, like you said, like the previous Impossible films, like I can barely remember the plot of half of them. I even
But
watched Fallout for like the third or fourth time the other day, and I was like, I just remember how good the action is. I don't fully remember what the plot is. But here there is quite an emphasis on the plot. I would say this is the most plot heavy of the Mission Impossible films, and in doing so, it's kind of its weakest element for me.
okay.
We obviously lean and just straight up spoilers for anyone. Please go watch Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It's really good fun. Is worth seeing on the big screen. Spoilers as always when we review these big films. It's just pretty difficult to not talk about things. But yeah, the villain here is AI essentially.
The
Um,
entity. Yeah.
the entity which can be controlled potentially with a key that unlocks its matrix or something.
Similar to
Uh,
Dial of Destiny, where we were looking for two keys that make one bigger key.
Yes, very true, very true. And we do have a very, like probably my favorite opening of all the series of like this Russian submarine that has
Oh
the
yeah,
entity on it, and they're testing it out essentially. And the entity almost tricks the Russians into blowing up themselves in a really, brilliant sequence. That's like completely tense and just like completely
mm.
out there as well because it doesn't involve Ethan
Yeah.
Hunt.
It kind of harkens back to the '90s when we were getting movies like The Hunt for Red October or Crimson Tide, and it feels like like a submarine movie for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but that did also like leave me with a little bit of confusion of just like everybody is fighting to control the entity in this film.
Uh huh.
Everybody wants to control the entity, but we've seen from the opening scene that the entity can't really be controlled.
Okay, that's interesting. But
They,
I think maybe that's maybe what part two will explore a little bit more.
yeah, but
Um.
there's a lot of exposition in this, and it usually boils down to The computer is why we're here. Why are you here? The computer made me do it. What are we doing here? It must have been the computer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but when we say that out loud, though, Alex, and it seems like, oh, it's completely ridiculous. I mean, even the fact that this thing is called the Entity. But the fact of the matter is, when you're watching it and you're in this sort of world that like McQuarrie and Cruz have kind of conjured up, you kind of go nod along, go, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I don't ever really find it ridiculous. It's laced with ridiculousness anyway. It's part of the fun.
Oh
But
yeah, but there's a lot of scenes trying to explain it. Would you not agree? Like there were,
I think of every Mission Impossible movie, and I'm like,
but
whatever.
they were some of these scenes were really extended that I was just like, dude, we need to move
I,
on. I'm bored of the talking because the talking isn't done very well.
it's hard. It's hard for me to agree. There, I felt the same way. I didn't feel like it was any more than the usual Mission Impossible movie. Obviously, this is a lot. This is the longest movie by far, but I felt that it was, done the right way. I think I was kind of on board with the whole thing. I think it just comes to a matter of your sort of tolerance for that sort of dialogue. I think I was just so excited to be in an IMAX cinema to be watching this thing, and the score from Lauren Balfe, and I think his score when he was sort of introduced in Fallout, and I think that's one of the highlights of that movie for me, where it really took the core element of the Mission Impossible theme tune music and really just made it really sort of heavy and very orchestral and almost Hans Zimmer like, adding all these sort of native drums in here. I mean, you get more of that back here
Yeah,
too, and I think like the music is such an undersung hero of what makes these newer movies so successful. I think that mixed with the stunts and cinematography are why I come to see this movie.
yeah.
Coming driving to the cinema to see this, I was listening to the soundtrack of Fallout and just absolutely getting chills and feeling like I was in the scene just by hearing Balf's music alone. I can't undersing the praises of that. To
I agree with everything apart from in this film. I do think the cinematography, and it's not action scenes shot incredibly.
it's
Those
more it's
again, I go back to those dialogue scenes. They've changed up the style here, and they kind of harken back to the first Mission Impossible, but they kind of
yeah,
overdo it with these. They're called Dutch angles, where
yeah,
you kind of
they're
like
very angles.
twist the camera. But every scene that isn't an action scene is shot on a close up, and it's too much. It's distractingly too much. And every it's all out of not out of shape, but like they're all Dutch shots, they're all close ups. I was just thinking
Yeah.
like it looks okay on a big screen, but you put this on a TV. I was just like, this is such a big film, and they're in these big sets. But especially, I found this mostly in the nightclub scene, partway through the film, probably about halfway, midpoint, I imagine. Um, it just felt like we've gone into this amazing looking nightclub, and then boom, we're only looking at
Yeah,
faces. Like I got no sense of space, of scale, of this incredible setting that they were in. Everything was just like
I will
it was
agree.
Tom Cruise's face, and then like a little bit to the sides.
Yeah, I will agree. Like thinking back to that scene now, we've got this big grandiose sort of party in Venice in this open courtyard, and we only get to see a really small, like private VIP bar section. Really, I mean, and it becomes a little bit more of a small costume drama for 10 minutes, where it becomes a little bit more about sort of power plays. But I just think that the whole action was done incredibly well in this movie. I agree with you that there is a lot of nods to the original first film. I think the Brian De Palma Dutch angles you're talking about are very, yeah, they're perhaps overdone. I did like how they were sort of introduced in the scene where um Henry Czerny's character Kittredge is kind of warning Ethan about what's to come, and there's this sort of
Yes.
dread and sort of real foreboding that comes with that angle. Like you're literally staring up the nostrils of these two guys, and the score is rumbling and building in the background, and it does feel like this real sense of danger. But you're right. I think whenever that translates into action scenes, they look a little bit more like the shot on GoPro. Sometimes I do think that the stuff I think with Ethan Hunt on the motorbike, even though that's the big sort of selling piece promotionally of the movie before coming into it. I think some of that did feel a little bit obvious and stagey, but the train sequence though. Once we get off the motorbike, Ethan jumps off the cliff, and we get this big chase sequence at the end. It is pretty crazy, and they actually did
Yes.
crash a train. I mean, it's not as big as the movie, obviously, but they got a 2-car train, and Tom Cruise really is on top of it, going 60 miles an hour. And yeah, it's pretty thrilling stuff. I mean, he'll do anything.
And you can tell because it does look brilliant. It like and that whole train sequence itself is just excellent. And with we had a very similar kind of sequence in Indiana Jones, and it just shows you like Indiana Jones that sequence. Apart from maybe the
Eek.
aging, was passable. The train sequence itself was passable, but this is on a different level. Though, did you know, Chris, that the original planned opening for this film, and you see bits of it in the flashbacks, was a like 25-minute de-aged Tom Cruise sequence.
I'm glad they didn't go that route, to be honest. I'm really glad.
I'm half glad, but it leads me into like another issue with our other villain, Gabriel. I don't know who he is. I don't care about him. I don't care about him at all. And I
think
just like
there's
after we've
time.
come off Henry Cavill, but like this is like we're supposed to feel like he's some like menacing figure from Tom Cruise's past, but that's it. Like I get nothing more.
I think S.A. Morales does a really good job of like portraying that menace. It's a different type of menace. It's sort of more of like a corporate bad guy, but with a little bit of muscle. I think that his sort of just conviction, and I think Morales does a really good job of not over emoting in his scenes. I think in a way that it just makes him seem like just a guy who completely believes himself and everything that he's trying to do. I do think they've kind of left a lot of scope to explore more of that character in the next movie. But yeah, you're right. There's a couple of flashbacks to things we've never seen. It harkens back even before the first Mission Impossible movie. And we just get like the back of Tom Cruise's head. This is quite funny. But that's kind of the stuff I like in this movie. It's kind of goofy at times. I think this is maybe one of the goofier Mission Impossible movies. Intentionally anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted a better villain. We just came off Henry Cavill, and I just thought
that's hard shoes to fill.
So I do have this like slight inkling that Gabriel is not real. I think he's a robot.
That would be.
And I think the AI has designed Gabriel.
No way, man.
I think they're using the mass technology. They're using the mass technology, and he is the one person that might stop Tom Cruise in his tracks because of how he looks. I've just got.
What if it's actually he gets demasked and it's Tom Cruise from the future trying to stop them from stopping AI?
That would be mad. That would be mad. However, I guess like as villains go, he does end up killing one of the team, and there's this whole
yes.
I think Ethan Hunt, the living manifestation of destiny, the mind-reading, shape-shifting incarnation of chaos that he is. I think they've developed this kind of Batman rule around him over the last couple films, at least from what I can remember.
Don't get romantically involved with this guy.
Well, that, but also like nobody dies. Like he's the guy who's like, apart from evil henchmen, nobody dies. My team doesn't die. So like this big thing happens in the middle of the film, which I don't know, Chris. I might need you to explain this to me. Why do they kill Ilsa? Why does that happen?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused with that too, to be honest. I think there was no sort of warning that was going to happen. I had no idea they were going to kill off that character. I'm a really big fan of Rebecca Ferguson in that role. I don't know. I think maybe they just were really excited about the prospect of having a different dynamic with Haley Atwell.
But doesn't that lead into that idea of like, there's not enough capable women? Oh no, sorry, not enough capable, not enough space for two capable women in the same film.
Yeah, I think that to push the romantic journey between Ilsa Faust and Ethan Hunt would be really difficult because I think the whole thing is that they're too similar, and that I don't know. Maybe they could just be the ultimate power couple that ever existed. I'm talking myself out of it. Yeah, I think it was complicated. I think it was really well set up in the last two movies before. It is a strange choice. I don't know if I was necessarily angry with it, but it didn't feel necessary.
It didn't feel like the film was leading to that. Like in that setting, they were just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, one of you is gonna die tonight." It's like,
Yeah,
okay, and the fact that like, he was like, you could choose Ethan between like this woman you met a day ago and Ilsa, who you have this like relationship that spanned years. If I was
yeah,
Ilsa, I'd be a little pissed that he even contemplated not. you know, I mean, I guess he doesn't decide in the end, but it just reminded me of like, I don't know. Have you heard of the term fridging? It's
yeah.
very much
Frigid.
like a
Yeah,
comic book thing where it's like you kill off like a female character to hurt the main character to push them into this thing, because later on in the film, this idea that like if he kills Gabriel, um, that could be the end of everything, and oh, because of Ilsa, he might go ahead and do it. But and I realize I'm being really negative about this film, but Tom Cruise in this film, I thought this was one of his weakest performances, because in the moment of that sequence where he's like, "Oh, should I kill you or not?" I just didn't feel it from him. I didn't feel like he was angry about Ilsa's death. She kind of died, and they don't really talk about it again. He doesn't seem emotionally affected by it,
yeah.
and
I think
he just kind
yeah.
of looks constipated by the decision on the train.
Constipated, man. I maybe have to catch all that aftermath stuff again to kind of really have a cemented opinion on it. I think, yeah, it's kind of sad that they kind of dropped that really, really quickly because it was a big part of his sort of emotional turmoil and confusion in the last couple of movies. So yeah, I'm a little bit perplexed by that. I'm perplexed that Ethan's wife doesn't make an appearance again
Yeah, I
after
guess.
kind of the ending of the last movie. Though they're temporarily, well, you know, knowing each other anyway, and they're not romantically involved. I think she's still involved with her husband,
Oh
the
yeah, of
scientist guy.
course. You can't
But
be weird.
there's I mean, there's just it's just strange that like they were together at the end of the last movie, and then we don't even get like a sort of
A
acknowledgement.
mention.
It's kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And he doesn't. He doesn't kill Pom Clementi's character either in the in
No,
the in the
it
hallway,
seems
which
because somebody
which is
says
weird to me.
that she's got a pulse, so I think she'll be making a return in the
Oh
next
no,
movie.
that's in the train sequence. I mean,
Oh, sorry.
in an action scene, which is very smart, because obviously all of these action sequences are filmed on IMAX, and they're like in these vastly huge scenarios, and then we go to this action scene that's in like the smallest alleyway
Yes,
in
love
Venice.
that.
I did love that, and it is a brilliant sequence. But
It's
he
very
decides not
sweaty
to
and
kill
yeah,
her at the end, and I was like, I don't understand why you're not killing her right now. He kills so many henchmen.
it's because she's a woman.
That's old fashioned,
I know,
Ethan
no,
Hunt.
I know, but
I'm not saying we
I,
should kill women,
I
by the way, before we get branded just another one of those white dude podcasts.
yeah. There's, I think he just sees. Oh, it sounds so silly, but when you're watching the movie, it's fine. But it sounds so silly to mention it now. I think there's a sort of recognition she has of defeat in that moment that
Yeah.
she cannot believe that this guy beat her, and there's a sort of sadness. And I think Ethan's got this sort of magical ability to see the true intent in everybody.
He would also be like, I don't know, killing someone when they're down. Like
Yeah,
she wasn't getting back up. So maybe I'll take that point away just a little bit. But
he
I
isn't that
just
guy.
yeah.
He acts out of necessity, and I think that's a consistency in the character. That scene is really cool, though. I think
Yeah, it's very cool.
we haven't mentioned the other two scenes really. I think the airport sequence where him and Haley Atwell's character Grace are introduced to each other, and it's this really fun sort of like old espionage cat and mouse sort of stuff happening in the airport. That's really really fun and quite funny.
Yeah.
And I think that's Tom Cruise when he's at his best is in this part of the movie. We get the old charming sort of version of him
Yeah.
back again.
But again, it's in like a not so much like big action sequence, but
Yeah.
it's in an action tense sequence. This feel
Yes.
like have you seen that video of a sketch? I can't remember the guy. Is it like Tim Robinson? It's not Tim Robinson. Oh no, it is Tim Robinson, and the
Right.
sketch is he's on The Bachelor. But he gets
Okay.
kicked off The Bachelor because he's only there for the zip line. He just wants to use the zip line and go into the pool. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
It's a brilliant sketch. You should go and watch it. It's really funny. But I just feel like Tom Cruise is the zipline guy. He's
Yeah,
he's here to do the stunts, and everything
yeah.
else is secondary.
Yeah, he is on like a personal mission here. Yeah, I think we remember seeing that clip of him yelling at the person for not wearing their mask. It just feels like he put so much pressure on the mechanicians of how this thing is going to work, and like I need to hit this point, I need this point, I need to be on my mark, I need to jump off the cliff 10 times. I let go of the bike too early. It's all about sort of like what his input into the thing, but I think he lets everybody have their shine. I think him the dynamic between him, Luther, and Benji is very, very cute as always. I just when all those three guys are
Yeah,
sparring off each other, I'm like, this is nice.
yeah. There were some really good comedy moments that came from those two together, and it did feel almost like quite slapstick in a way. And I
Yeah,
don't mean that as a criticism. I'll try to stop criticizing this, but I do
you
really
did like
enjoy it.
this movie, right?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I just had massive issues with a lot of the plot.
Well,
It
there's
was still
part
one
two
of the
to come
most
still.
entertaining films I've seen in the cinema this year, though. Like it is pure entertainment.
Yeah,
I just
and I
I couldn't turn away from some of the plot this time. Whereas previously the plot was so thin,
yeah,
I didn't care. But here the plot is quite heavy,
I think
and
maybe
I
when you're
just
setting up a
couldn't.
two-parter, it needs to be beefier by nature. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I'm stop now. I'll stop now. Those are my main points. I really enjoyed everything.
What did Yeah? Did you love like me? Did you enjoy the Rome sequence in the Fiat? Is
Excellent. Yeah,
so fun with the whole
yeah.
them being chained to each other with handcuffs and the whole dynamic of having she can't drive a car. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
did pick
know.
up on that, but I'm trying not to say.
I try that. Yeah, well, maybe she's not confident with that level of a car, a spy, because she's not
Yeah,
used to
because
that.
we did
Okay,
see her like drift round corners in a police car. I mean, I know she was hitting everything, but they were narrow streets.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And the joke is that it's Italy. It's impossible to drive in Italy. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that stuff is so fun with the interior shots of the car. They seem, I don't know, were they actually like in like some sort of car on wires twisting this thing around? It's some amazing like head scratching stunts going on in this thing. But
Yeah,
the whole chase, like I mentioned before, with Palm Clementif chasing behind in this mammoth car, just like crashing free and having a great time at it. It's just so fun, and it's proper edge of your seat stuff. Exactly what you want from a Mission Impossible movie. It delivered for me.
yeah. On an entertainment front, absolutely
Yeah,
delivered. I think, and I'm very excited to see where it goes in part two. It's not like it leaves on a massive cliffhanger, but obviously
no,
our main kind of
up to the
mission
level
is
that
not
across.
finished yet. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, and you still feel like you got like a full movie here. It doesn't. Like, it feels like its own start, middle, and end. And
Yeah.
kudos for that for really kind of delivering on that.
But it
Because
also leads as like slightly like an origin story for potentially a passing over of the baton. Like Haley Atwell's character is very much
yeah,
supposed to be
she's a
this,
she's
you know,
adopted here, really, isn't she?
yeah. Like the idea is that Ethan Hunt was also some form of criminal turned um, IMF agent. Whenever they say what IMF stands for in the film, I can't
Oh
help but
yeah,
laugh, and I think they kind of,
impossible mission.
I think they kind of laugh a little bit in one of the scenes where they explain it to the head of national security.
It's
Made me
great.
laugh, but yes, she Haley Atwell's very much like this. The amateur who's about to become part of the team. That is almost this parallel of early days of Ethan Hunt, or I think that's the idea. But I did find it interesting because we also had a rookie or a newcomer hand him the mission at the start,
Yeah.
and there was also the character. There was another CIA agent who spends his time with Shea Wiggum.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the guy, but he has a scene where he's talking about like,
Yeah, I
oh, I'm on
guess I
the.
think the character is called.
Okay, there you go. He mentions when they're talking about like who what power does the entity have and who should have it. And he kind of advocates for the fact that like he's on the side of everyone, and Ethan Hunt might have a point. You should destroy it. And it's sort of like these are all like young characters, and maybe we're looking at like they could be the next team of IMF agents. Were you
Mhm.
getting that vibe at all? Or
Yeah, I don't know. I think Tom Cruise, to be honest, is smart enough to know when to call it a day. I don't think he's somebody. I mean, he's spoken in interviews about this, about people asking him about passing the baton, and he's like, to be honest, I don't, I haven't got that in mind. And who can blame him though? I mean, are you here to see Mission Impossible, or are you here to see Tom Cruise? I would argue both, but I'm probably more here to see Tom Cruise.
I'm here to see the type of film that having Tom Cruise in it promises to be. I
Well,
don't think I'm here
but would it be this
specifically for
type of
Tom
movie
Cruise.
without Tom Cruise? Would it have the precision, the just the sheer effect of having him do all his own stunts, having just the precision of like I'm going to do everything the most crazy way possible, and it's going to be filmed the best way possible. We can shoot it, and we're going to have this crazy score. I don't think if you have another star leading it, they would have that much sort of input that he brings to
Oh,
the
it's
table.
true. Like the power he holds is kind
I
of.
almost see him as a co-director in these movies. I have no doubt that he
Oh
has so much
yeah,
say in what goes into these.
he is a producer, isn't he? As well, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So yeah, no, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But it's the type of film that Tom Cruise being in promises to deliver, and I think that's why I'm there. I'm not sure if I'm always here for him.
Oh,
Um,
I am. There's a
I
screen
don't.
presence. I don't know. It's just something about it. I can't put my
It's a
finger
bit
on
creepy. It's a bit creepy.
it.
Uh,
Maybe we should watch Eyes Wide Shut, and maybe that'll be a perfect movie.
yeah, he doesn't talk about that film, though, does he? What I was going to say, Tom Cruise.
Before we get into like Stanley Kubrick territory,
I do
um,
like him and Christopher McQuarrie together. They make a good team. They make a good team. You're right. Probably not going to hand the baton because I think that was the idea with Jeremy Renner a few films ago. Definitely not happening.
renovations.
But Jeremy Renner from Renovations himself. But I do feel like I don't know. I feel like they might just leave those characters there if anybody did want to pick them up at any point. You never know. Haley Atwell might be the next big action star. I'm not saying she should be, or they should carry on the Mission Impossible films after the next one. I don't know if it's supposed to be the final one.
like I think Haley Atwell's brilliant in this, but I think she is best when she's bouncing off somebody else, and having a fun dynamic between with another character. I don't see her leading, being the go-to lead on a project like this. I don't, see everybody going to, Haley Atwell. We need you, or it's just not gonna be like that.
Let's wait till the next one. Wait till the next
Wait
one.
to the next one. Maybe they
Wait.
are massaging that sort of that process of kind of bringing her up for the IMF. So there is scope.
There is. But yeah, no, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
So we recommend you guys check. Well, myself more than Alex. Alex, you still like the movie. I'm
I still
teasing,
like the movie.
but
Yes.
we definitely recommend you guys check out Mission Impossible before Barbenheimer takes all the screens away from it. Go see it on the biggest screen possible. I know everybody says that about everything, but these movies need to be loud and big.
Yeah.
Yeah, do not watch this at home. Well, do if you can't watch it in a movie theater or cinema, but if you can, please go out your way to see it. It's really fun, and you don't really need. I mean, it helps if you've seen the last few movies, of course, to have the attachment to the characters, but you can see this, without having any sort of previous knowledge, because the magic of these movies is, I know you said it's plot heavy, but the plot kind of washes over you, and you don't mind it sometimes. So, yeah, go see it for the action.
Yeah. Train sequence in particular, incredible stuff. We have watched another BFI Sight and Sound greatest films of all time, Blind
Oh,
Spot.
I just heard people turn the podcast off.
Yeah, I know. We should start doing these at the start of the podcast, maybe.
Yeah. Then they'll definitely know us.
Make them wait for Mission Impossible.
I'd say you
And we're
gotta
not
earn
putting
it.
a time code in. You can't skip to the Mission Impossible review.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. It's fine. It's fine. You should stick around for these other good fun. If you're still listening, you're like, maybe I'll turn it off. Like, you don't have to have seen the film just to enjoy the conversation. I think as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
Journey to Italy, a 1954 Italian film, but English language.
Sure.
There's a whole thing about that apparently, and having to redub it and all this kind of stuff going on. So you and I, we kind of watched it together, didn't we, Chris?
We kind of like, in a very manic way, watched it together and probably could have done a better setup. But we did have a video call and we watched the movie together, and it was quite fun actually. This is
cute
yeah,
alert.
it was very cute. I think we reacted to the movie differently than we would have reacted if we were watching it by ourselves. Probably saw the humor more this time around. But it was a really good experience. I mean, I really liked this movie. I haven't talked to you about it yet. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we watched it together, so I think we both got a
You got
general idea
yeah.
that we both enjoyed it. I liked it quite a lot. It's quite a short film compared to some of the others we've
Compared
been
to
reviewing
most
recently.
movies.
It was so it was directed by Roberto Rossellini, and it tells the tale of like an English couple traveling to Italy, and they're in this kind of point in their marriage where, I mean, it could go either way, and the film kind of delves into that. I think they mention early on at the start that this is the first time they've just been together as a couple since the beginning of their marriage, which was maybe like, I can't remember if they said 2 years. I can't remember the exact amount of time.
Right.
And they
Okay.
kind of like, oh wait, we've spent a whole marriage just around other people, talking to other people. They're clearly of a social class where they're probably out to dinner parties and partying quite a lot. And here they are, just in a car together
Just arrived
a
in
journey
Italy.
to Italy.
Yeah.
And
they're arguing pretty early on. It doesn't take long.
yes, yeah, and then you completely ruined any sense of newness to this film by letting me know that the actor who plays Alex also voices Shere Khan in The Jungle Book, and then from then on out, and this is 2 minutes in,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anybody else but Shere Khan, and all I could think about the whole time was man cub.
Man cub. Yeah.
Man cub.
He's the ultimate like stiff upper lip Brit, isn't he? Here, yeah. It turns out, yeah, he's not really a voice actor. He just did his own voice for that Jungle Book movie. Yeah, you can't get out of your head, and he kind of embodies Shere Khan in a human way as well. There's something
he's
very.
A grump.
He's more than a grump. He's a bit of a nice guy. Is the polite way of saying it.
He isn't. He's bored of his wife, played by the always incredible Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah,
he's completely
and lets her know it as well.
He
very
lets her
very
know
often.
it. He doesn't want to, like, they're in Italy. She wants to go off and see the sights and see the history. He cannot be asked. He would rather sit around and talk to other women. At one point, it even looks like he's gonna. He does pick up a prostitute, and it looks like he's gonna follow through with it. He has the eye for the younger woman, but he's still even really horrible to the prostitute because she's Italian and she doesn't fully speak English. He's just like in the car, just calls her a shameless, brazen hussy, just like to her face, and then she's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing."
From this film.
Like he's just a dick. He's horrible. He's really not nice. Whereas Catherine, played by Ingrid Bergman, she realizes the marriage is at this crossroads. She's not sure which way she wants it to go, and we mainly follow her, I would say, in this film as she kind of sees the sights of Italy, but it almost turns into a bit of a travelogue. Would you say? Like, we get to visit the museums with her. We get to visit.
Yeah, we really are in Naples, aren't we?
Of like these bodies. There's a lot of death.
Yes,
it looms a lot of old Italian men just giving her tours around.
Yeah, and shouting at her, calling her lady.
Yeah, lady, follow me. Come this way. Which is where we found the humor. Obviously, watching it together. But it was kind of like, even though it is like this, almost like this travelogue, if it was really interesting, but you almost get to see her kind of realize the grandiose nature of life, um, and how death is just like a normal part, and she's wondering about her place in the world and her relationship, and I guess it brings all these kind of very big, heavy, heady themes
Mm.
to the forefront of her mind, which makes her question whether she wants to keep living with Alex.
Well, it's funny that like the thing that you mentioned at the start of the movie, we establish this is the first time they've really properly seen each other, and so maybe we presume up until this point in their marriage, even though such time has passed, that they are actually strangers at this point, and it's like telling two strangers, right? You guys are married, you're in love, and they're just completely two different human beings, and they've realized that. And the movie is really about two people who are actually suffering from really extreme loneliness despite being together. They're just like two sort of ghosts hovering around each other, and but I think, Bergman's character Joyce, Catherine Joyce, I think she makes more of a heavy effort to really kind of make this thing work. But Alex is just, he lets all Alexes down. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
I love you, but
Alex, Alexes, we disown that Alex.
yeah,
We don't like him,
yeah. I mean,
man.
he openly says, "I'm going to go to the island of Capri and like party with women," and yeah. Oh, what do you think about that? And then and then comes home 2 days later, and doesn't even say anything to his wife. They are both so ashamed of their relationship and so hateful towards each other that Catherine, when he comes in the middle of the night, pretends to be asleep on the sofa and not even greet him. And he makes no effort to even greet her. He just goes straight to his bedroom, and then they don't talk until the next morning. I mean, it's so sad, that these two people have wasted so much of their lives, devoted to something so cold and empty. And although that is challenged at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
which is probably really interesting. It's a really interesting moment, actually.
Yeah, which is probably the moment, whether you fully buy the film, or fully fall in love with the film, is probably how you maybe feel about the ending. So they towards the end of their trip, they're like, "Yep, screw it, let's get a divorce. This isn't working. Let's not do this anymore." And then they almost get stuck in traffic as this kind of big parade almost looks like like it looks like maybe they're parading a coffin or something.
Yeah,
And the streets are lined with
it's some sort.
people.
It's a festival of some sorts. Yeah,
Yeah, and they get out and they're like, "Yeah, this isn't working." Oh, bloody hell! And then,
bloody
um,
hell. Yeah.
bloody hell! Just stop talking to me, old chap. Um, and Catherine gets swept up in the crowd, and they're separated, and they're kind of calling out for each other as they can't get to each other for
Yeah.
this moment.
This is
And
seconds
then,
after they've just confirmed that they are getting a divorce as well.
yeah, and then that moment of being separated and not being able to get to each other reminds them that they are very much dearly in love. And oh my darling, what are we doing? What are we? Aren't we stupid? Let's kiss. Mm.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I liked that a
Oh,
lot.
sorry.
I liked that a lot, actually, because
I
I
didn't
don't.
know.
I don't think it's as face value as you're as as you're seeing it, because I think the performance is actually quite noticeably very stilted for the very first time in this movie from George Sanders. Um, he up until this point has been excellent. I think it's a bit of a weird line delivery, and it feels like a person who is just completely, maybe caught up in the moment, but lying to himself completely as well. And I think the cycle will only continue after the movie ends. I don't see it as a romantic lovely ending. I see it as a further damnation of these two lonely souls.
Oh, that is an interesting way to look at it. I guess for me, I did see it as like, why, like it doesn't make any sense, and like it just looked like the abused woman
It could,
going back
it could
to the
be that could have been
abuser.
the intention of the movie. It
That
could
could
have
be.
tried to sweep
That
you off your
being
feet, but
that being said, there is a there's a good like 15-20 minute clip on YouTube. I don't know what it's from, of Martin Scorsese talking about the journey
okay.
to Italy, and he definitely kind of romanticizes that ending, in a way that even I was like, "Oh, maybe you have a point, Marty.
It's
Maybe you have
too.
a point."
I think the movie's too quick, in introducing the history of these characters, and also just the resolve at the end is too quick for it to be perceived as emotional or romantic. I didn't feel like that anyway. I can only react in the way a movie makes me feel, and I think you know. For everything that The Voyage to Italy does really, really well, I think that emotion was the only thing that was leaving out for me during this whole experience. Maybe because we were laughing at the things that we probably shouldn't be laughing at. That might have a big part to play in it. But I think the journey, for lack of a better pun, is so quick here that I struggled to kind of really get romantically involved. Sorry, emotionally involved with these characters. This isn't a threesome at the end of the day. But
Uh,
um, this whole journey is just very sad, and you're just witnessing two people that you're like, guys, just do what you just want to do, whatever makes you happy. I just want to see. Well, I want to see Catherine happy. I don't want to see Alex happy. You can go and smoke yourself and drink yourself to death, buddy. But Catherine, I think, is the real sort of victim here. And yeah, all the imagery of her going around Naples and seeing images of death, and is just a red flag for her at every possible turn. And yeah, I wanted better for her. That's what I took out of this experience.
yeah, eating spicy Italian food.
Yeah, which I didn't really know Italian food spice. Maybe like tastes back in the 1950s was just so like basic that even pepper was spicy to people. That's what Perhaps that's what it was.
It is the it's the sensibilities of the 1950s that does lead me to believe that the ending is supposed to be romantic, like
Okay.
it's happy ending. But you're right. I prefer your way of looking at it. It didn't ruin the film for me. I just came at I just knocked heads with it a
Yeah.
bit. Like I
It
would
was just
prefer,
like a bit like, oh, okay. I didn't know I was supposed to feel this way. I
I
I
would,
can I can see that.
yeah, I just wanted it to be a little bit more like cynical, like it had been the whole film of like, yeah, these people just aren't going to work out. Like you shouldn't be rooting for them, and it's good that they're not together. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that sounds really bad from me. Maybe they
Mm.
should. I don't know.
I need to
Um,
delve into the reaction or the intent of Rossellini and his see if there's any interviews or any dossiers about him talking about the movie, because it's just how I felt at the end of it. I feel like it was cynical. But
I
yeah,
like that though.
yeah. Well, maybe it's a better movie. Maybe I'm just
I
trying to
want to
paint a better
rewatch
movie.
it with your thoughts in mind. Like or just the
Just
ending
watch the
anyway.
ending.
I
Yeah.
might do that just to like. I like that idea of like, yeah, like it's this false happiness and the cycle continues.
Because
I
that's
can
that's
buy that.
that's a very relatable thing that people do in relationships, not just romantically, but in
Mm,
general. People will tell, we're our own worst narrator, and we tell ourselves whatever to get us through a situation. That's part of the human survival instinct. Hopefully, I hope everybody who's listening and your my relationships are certainly not like that. But I can understand that different relationships, like whether it's working or friendships, can definitely be like that. And I saw that in these characters. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I think it's like a top 100 movies of all time? I can see the case for it, but personally, like for me, I wouldn't put it up in that level. I think it's a really good,
yeah,
respectable movie. I can see why it could probably be seen as contemporary for the time, because in the 50s, of this golden age of Hollywood, we're in this midst of very like romanticized version of Hollywood romances, and it's
yeah,
really cool. Obviously, these Italian filmmakers were really cutting edge in the fact that they were sort of looking at relationships in a little bit more of an obscure way. And yeah, it's kind of a bridging the gap between the Hollywood romance and the European sensibility.
yeah.
So I
It
can see why it's
was
important.
it was seen as very kind of like revolutionary at the time. If you watch that Martin Scorsese clip, he talks about the fact that Cahiers du Cinema the French magazine that Godard and Truffaut were a massive part of. They heralded it as this big kind of revolutionary thing, and I guess maybe the new wave of like Italian cinema that informed them and how to create films. So yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. Like you said, I wouldn't put it in my top 100 films of all time, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good film. Really liked it.
Fantastic.
So that has been the episode for this week. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. There's commas, there's dashes, there's colons.
No numbers.
No, one. Yeah, no, one is alphabetical.
It's written.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off track here. One of the biggest films of the summer, but literally a week or two before potentially the two big ones, as we mentioned at the start of the episode, Barbie and Oppenheimer. I keep wanting to just squish them together into Barbenheimer, but the Barbenheimer weekend is coming. It has come for everybody listening. And that will be the big episode next week where we will discuss both those films, I'm sure, at length. And I'm really looking forward to doing so.
Really excited. Should we do this? Right. Don't tell me which movie that you prefer, but whenever we come to record next week's episode, because obviously we video chat, I want to see you wearing either a pink or a black t-shirt representing which movie you preferred. Ooh. So I know as soon as I see you come on screen.
A very visual element to bring to this audio
to this audio experience. It'll be it's completely just for you and me, but we'll translate that through the medium of English language to anybody listening. But
I like it. Let's do it.
Maybe be a split. Maybe if you've got a black and pink split down the middle, that could be interesting too. But no, really, really excited. Next week's going to be amazing.
Yes. So, keep up to date. Follow us on all the podcast things. Rate us on all the podcast things. Those things being Spotify, Apple, Amazon, other places, Google. You can follow us on Instagram at The Film Angle. Same on TikTok at The Film Angle. And I believe now on Threads at The Film Angle as well. So follow us there. But that's been the episode for this week. My name's Alex.
And I'm Chris.
The living manifestation of destiny. Goodbye.
Me?